Hispanic Lifestyle discovered another California jewel that was brought to our attention by my sister Virginia. Located in Simi Valley, the Strathearn Historical Park and Museum has made a commitment to preserving the city's history. We spoke with Patricia Havens, who provided historical facts of the area and Simi Valley's roots that are tied to the country of Spain.
To begin with, it would have been a concession to Santiago Pico in 1795. And Santiago Pico was hardly recognized because he was just a simple private. All of his years he had signed up to come up from Mexico to help settle the Upper California. And he worked at most of I think there were 4 presidios, and he worked at least 3 of those. But he brought a family. He was 43 already when he signed on. So by the time he finally got this grant, he was 63 years old. And it just doesn't even show in the, it's kind of interesting that nobody paid any attention until they began to celebrate the Anza expedition and listed everybody who had come in 1776, I believe, 75 or 6. He came up with his family of 7 kids. So all the later histories, everybody disregards Santiago as if he didn't even exist. And they always say that that 3 of his sons got this grant from Governor Borica, or I think that was the right name. But anyway, it's not true. Santiago got it. Santiago, he was at the Presidio up in Santa Barbara, for one thing. I don't believe that his wife ever lived at this place because she died long about 1796. This is a Spanish colonial land grant. Spanish colonial. We're the earliest land grant in all of Santa Barbara and Ventura County. At that time, we were all one big mass of land with not much going on.
Pat went on to talk about the origins of the houses and structures located on the park's grounds.
To begin with, only the Strathearn house was here, and then those buildings that the pioneers wanted. One of them was a colony house. You see those colony houses that were sent out here by that investment company were prefab and partly put together, and they came out by railroad from Chicago to Satacoy in the middle of this county, and had to be brought over here by wagon and put together. And there were 12 of them. Well, the colony fell apart because as soon as they could really see what was happening, they didn't want to come out here. And the second year they were here, they had one of those rain years, sort of like we've had, or maybe even worse. Can you imagine that, with no roads, whatever? It was a mess. The church was built in 1902. It was built as a what would you call it, a competitor to the Methodist Church, because Methodists and Presbyterians didn't see eye to eye, and so they built a real church. The Methodist Church was in one of the empty colony houses, but anyway, it didn't last. So because if one congregation was lucky enough to have a preacher, they all went there anyway. So about 1910, this became a mission church for the Catholic Church out of Oxnard, and a little later it was we've had our eye on it all this time. They built their church down on Royal Avenue in 1964. By that time, people were having to just stand outside at a PA system to try to attend church. Of course, there was an addition at the back, which doubled the amount of people, but we put it back to the way it was when we first started. The Colony House and the little library, which are in back, were the first 2 buildings within the first year or so. In 1970, we brought the Colony House, and a year later, the library. We built the store using a 2-car garage that was right up the street on Strathearn property. Just recently, we brought the barbershop first, and then the pitting shed. The pitting shed is a genuine, real apricot pitting shed. I pitted apricots in there when I was 14 or something like that. It was a real jewel, and the hard thing to imagine now, we brought it down here in one piece, and yet it took forever to get it brought up to earthquake standards. Outrageous, really. Yeah, the big barns were from the Wood Ranch. The Wood Ranch was just ready to undergo development. They agreed for us to bring them down. And some of those photos I found this week are such reminders of such a fun time, because they brought the buildings, the biggest one in 3 parts and that one in 2 parts, and they stopped traffic literally and just came sailing along. And if we had not done it then, we never could have, because all of these tilt-up buildings. So that was just a lucky break.